The silent shame of straight men, sex, inequality, and the cultural war on male needs. In today's increasingly fractured society, straight men are facing a silent crisis, one not often spoken about in the open, lest it be ridiculed, dismissed, or shamed outright. That crisis is the biological and emotional need for sex with women, a need that is increasingly unmet, pathologized, or used as a tool for social control. This issue is often ignored or even laughed at, but it lies at the intersection of science, culture, economics, and politics. The science: male sexual needs are real. From a biological standpoint, male sexual desire is not a moral failing, it's an evolutionary imperative. Research in evolutionary psychology shows that men have a stronger and more visually triggered sex drive than women, shaped by millions of years of sexual selection. For many straight men, sex is not merely a recreational activity but a primary way of feeling connected, loved, and validated. Neuroscientific studies have shown that men often associate physical intimacy with emotional bonding. Oxytocin, the bonding hormone, is released in high amounts during sex, and this has a powerful effect on male emotional health. When this need is unmet, whether by prolonged rejection, manipulation, or withholding, it can lead to anxiety, depression, and feelings of worthlessness. Yet in our culture, male desire is frequently pathologized. Men are told to suppress their needs, to man up and focus on emotional labor, or worse, to love Jesus instead of women, as some conservative religious teachings imply. Trade, inequality, and the rise of promiscuity. Now, let's take a step back and examine the larger social structure. One of the core causes of modern promiscuity and the decline of traditional relationships is economic inequality, and at the root of inequality is the mechanism of money and trade. Money creates artificial scarcity. In a system where everything, including affection, status, and sex, is commodified, relationships become transactional. This has resulted in a sexual marketplace where access to women is increasingly concentrated in the hands of a few high-status men. Apps like Tinder have accelerated this effect, where studies show that the top 20% of men receive 80% of female attention. This hypergamy, the tendency of women to date up, results in more casual relationships and fewer long-term, committed ones. The result? Fewer women who are interested in, or able to be, wife material in the traditional sense. Promiscuity rises, emotional walls go up, and men seeking meaningful sexual connection are left out in the cold. The double standard, feminism and the cultural devaluation of male needs. Feminism, particularly in its third and fourth waves, has played a paradoxical role in this dynamic. On one hand, it rightly champions women's freedom, autonomy, and sexual agency. On the other hand, it often portrays male sexuality as inherently oppressive or dangerous. Straight men are shamed for expressing their needs. They're labeled entitled for wanting sex in relationships, or toxic for expressing frustration at being constantly rejected. Meanwhile, female sexual needs are celebrated and prioritized. There's a cultural narrative that women are liberated when they withhold sex, but men are creepy or perverse if they express longing for it. Even within marriage, the male need for sex is often treated as a burden. Some women are taught that sex is a chore, a duty, something to be checked off rather than shared with joy. Yet in reality, mutual sexual fulfillment is a foundation of marital health. Religion's role: redirecting love from woman to God. Religious traditions, particularly in conservative Christianity, add another layer of complexity. Men are told to love Jesus more than women, to guard their hearts, and to suppress lustful desires. While spiritual discipline can be meaningful, this often leads to deep shame around natural male sexuality. Men are spiritually gaslit, taught that their sexual urges are sinful unless sanctioned by marriage, but once inside a marriage, they're still wrong if they want sex too often or too passionately. Instead of embracing sexual love as divine and meaningful, it becomes something to be managed, repressed, or feared. A call for compassion and balance. The core problem is not that women have needs and rights. Of course they do. The issue is that men's needs are being neglected or demonized in a culture that prioritizes political correctness over biological truth, and shame over compassion. A society that mocks men for wanting love through sex, that encourages women to withhold intimacy for power, and that spiritualizes sexual rejection, is a society that is unraveling its own social fabric. We need a new paradigm, one that recognizes male sexual desire as healthy, normal, and deeply tied to emotional well-being. We need to talk openly about how economic systems, cultural movements, and religious teachings are all playing a role in reshaping intimacy, and not always for the better. In healthy marriages and relationships, sex is not optional. It is sacred. It is healing. And it must be mutual. For men, it is not about conquest or control. It is about feeling loved, needed, and accepted. Until we can speak openly and compassionately about these issues, we will continue to see growing disconnection, loneliness, and bitterness between the sexes. The solution begins with honesty about what we need, what we've lost, and what we must rebuild.